Hi, and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner, where I share 5 of our dinners that we had during the week, hopefully to give you some ideas or inspiration to get your week started. Of course, any recipes or ingredients that I do mention will be in the description, so don't forget to check that out, and let's get started with this week's What's for Dinner. So starting off, we made slow cooker meatloaf, and adding some cooking spray to my slow cooker. I had these baby potatoes that my mother-in-law gave me, so I rinsed those, clean those, and add that to the bottom of my slow cooker, and we're going to use that as our base. And then I'm adding some garlic powder, also some onion powder, some seasoned salt, and then you can add butter, but I waited until they were fully cooked, and while I was serving I added the butter on top of it, and these potatoes were so good. I've only made meatloaf 2 times. This was the second time. My husband wasn't a fan of it, so I just never made it. So here I have all my ingredients here, and then adding some breadcrumbs. And then you can use ground beef if you want, or ground chicken. I'm using ground turkey. And anytime I use ground turkey, I like to add a beef bouillon to this just to give it flavor of beef. I just like adding that. It really gives it really good flavor anytime I'm using ground turkey or ground chicken. And this is just 1 pound of ground turkey that I'm using. And then I'm going to give everything a mix. And the first time that I made it in the oven, like just traditional, and then this time was a slow cooker, and it came out really good. I tried my best to shape it. It reminded me of those canned hams, to shape it as much as I could, and then I folded the aluminum foil like a little border so that it can fit in there. But my slow cooker is round. It would have been perfect if I had an oval shape, but kind of crammed it in there. It was a little hard to take out when it was cooking, so I put this on low for about 4 hours, and then another 2 hours I cooked it on high. This is the one that I made in the oven, and then I paired it with green beans and mac and cheese, and I just used a loaf pan. So after about 4 hours, or 5 hours, it was fully cooked. And then I added the glaze on top, which just a mixture of ketchup and brown sugar. And then I let that cook for like another 30 minutes to an hour, like the remaining time of it. But in total, you're going to cook this between 6 to 8 hours in the slow cooker. And it was so good. I took it out. I did have a hard time, and then while I was cutting the meatloaf, I added butter and parsley to the potatoes. I didn't have green beans. That was my original side, so I just served it with corn, and then this is the meatloaf. It was really good. It was not dry. It was just perfect. It was so good. I will definitely be making this again, especially because it's just so easy in the slow cooker. I can go and do things and come home to dinner. That was dinner on that day. So on this day, we had ribeye steaks, baked potatoes, and some veggies. I got some ribeyes on sale, so definitely was a good meal. I put a couple of potatoes in the toaster oven, and then I made extra for the following day to have for breakfast, like cut up. And then the steak, I just season it with a steak seasoning that I make. And then I added butter to my pan, added the garlic. I didn't have fresh rosemary, so I used dried. So I seasoned like the bottom of the pan and the melted butter. And then I have this on a medium heat. We do want the steaks medium, so I'm just gonna cook it about 4 minutes per side. These steaks were huge. I originally bought 3, but we easily just ate through one, and then had leftovers for the next day. So I ended up freezing one whole steak because we can easily just eat one. They're very big. And then while my steaks are cooking and the flavors are developing, all that fat that's in the pan, on the side, I like grilled onions, I like zucchinis, I like mushrooms. So I started by adding the onions, since those are the ones that take a little bit longer to cook for me. And then I added the zucchini once the onion was nice and soft. And then I added the mushrooms. I had very little bit of mushrooms, and to be honest, I think they were a little bit freezer burned, but it didn't matter. I used them up, and they were really good in there while their steaks are cooking. So finishing cooking all that, making them to the side. And then I just seasoned the same seasonings as I did the steak, just a little bit. Added that to the onions, the zucchini, and the mushrooms. And then if I didn't have the veggies, I'll probably pair this with an asparagus. I like that too, or a side salad. Pairs well with the steak. So added the zucchinis, and those were the little bit of mushrooms that I had with the nice icicles in there. And then let those cook. The zucchini cooks up pretty quick. And then I cut up that steak. I couldn't even eat that big piece of steak. It was so huge. And then the baked potato, the veggies, and then I like to add a little bit of A1. And that was dinner on that day. So for this day, we had chili and cornbread. We have this about once a month. And then usually I double my recipe. I like using ground beef for the chili, so I do 2 pounds of ground beef. And I usually double the recipe just so that I can have enough for the next day to eat. And then I also like to freeze any leftovers and won't have it for the next month. So I really only cook it once every other month, but we eat it once a month because my kids enjoy it. And now that we're in fall, it's even better. So I start by seasoning and cooking my ground beef the way I always cook any kind of meat. And that is just by adding seasoned salt, and then I add a little bit of chicken bouillon, and then I like to add fresh minced garlic. I add 3 per pound. So since I'm cooking 2 pounds, I'm using 6 pounds, not 6 pounds, 6 fresh garlic cloves. And then to my blender, I have diced tomatoes, I have bell pepper, and I have onion. I've also used tomato sauce instead of the diced tomatoes, and it comes out really good too. So I'm just blending that because my kids don't want to see none of that. Now that my ground beef is cooked, I'm adding the blended veggies to my chili sauce. And then since they went in the blender raw, I do need to cook them out. So I like to put this on a low to medium heat for about 30 minutes with a lid on. I like to cook that just so that the raw taste of it, it tastes fully cooked. And then I will add also the spices, which I have chili powder, I have paprika, onion, garlic, salt, I have pepper, and if I didn't say cumin, I add that. You can add that, or you can add like a seasoning pack like the chili mix that they sell. You can do that too. And then I made some cornbread. It came out a little bit more golden, but it was really good. This is the way my kids love eating it, is in chili cheese fries. So I make homemade French fries, put the chili, put the cheese, and then I enjoy eating it like this. They also like eating it like this. So sometimes they'll have like a little bowl of chili with cheese, sour cream, and every time I've been making chili, I forget to add my onions or jalapenos. I really like eating it like that. And that was dinner on that day. This day we had chicken gnocchi soup. My daughter requested it, the one from Olive Garden. So I start by cooking chicken. I add cooking oil spray, and then I just season my chicken the same way I like to, the same seasonings. I added some Italian seasonings. I added some parsley. I also added some seasoned salt, garlic, onion, and I let those cook about 5 minutes per side. Took them out and put them on the side. And then I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of butter. I have celery diced up, also some carrots peeled and diced, and then some onions. And then I'm gonna let that cook. To me, the carrots is what takes the longest, so my butter got a little bit brown, but to be honest, that just adds more flavor to it. And then I added 3 minced garlic cloves, and then I'm adding about 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. And I'm gonna cook the flour out just to get the flavor out of the raw flour. So I'm cooking all that, and then I'm adding about 2 cups of chicken stock. I had homemade one in my freezer that I defrosted. And then I'm adding the milk, and then I'm adding the heavy whipping cream. This soup is really delicious and very easy to make. And right now that we're in fall, I feel like I want to make soups every single day. And this was enough for about 2 days, and then the leftovers I froze. And then I added some seasonings. I added parsley, oregano, basil, and Italian seasoning. And then I cut up the chicken. You can shred it or you can cut it. It's up to you. I wanted to cut it diced up. And then after that, I'm adding about 2 cups of fresh spinach that will wilt pretty quick and cook up. So adding that, and then at the end, I am going to add the potato gnocchi soup, pasta. I bought this one, I believe at Target, and it's just a 16-ounce. And at first I thought maybe that's not going to be enough. It was a lot. It was a lot. So the instruction says to let it cook for about 5 to 6 minutes. So I let it cook for a little bit longer, but that's pretty much what it was, a soup. You can pair this with a salad, but nobody wanted a salad today. So then I just paired it with breadsticks and the soup, and it was really good. And that was dinner on that day. So on this day, we did just the side Thanksgiving. I usually do this around July, but I waited until right now recently. So I started by boiling my potatoes. The potatoes were already done, so that's why the water was already halfway. I'm making some mashed potatoes. Here I'm making some dressing or stuffing, but since I'm not stuffing anything, it's dressing. I cooked up some onions, some celery, and some carrots, and then I added the cornbread. I have butter in there. And then I'm adding chicken stock again. I'm adding it little by little. And then after that, I'm going to place it in a casserole and cook it in the oven at 400 for about 30 minutes. My goal was to shred the chicken and add it to there, so it could be a 1 casserole dish, but I completely forgot. And then making the mashed potatoes, I got this cranberry sauce on sale for 50 cents, so I used that. And then there's the mashed potatoes. I paired this with corn. I made a green bean casserole, and then the stuffing or dressing here on the side. And then since I didn't shred the chicken and put it in the casserole, all I did was cook it in my air fryer, and then we just cut it up like the turkey. This is what my plate looks like with the roll. And I still wanted to make I wanted to make the sweet potato casserole, but I was like, no, we are going heavy with the carbs. We're going to take it easy because it's a lot. But it was so good. Just looking at this, I want this all over again. I didn't make gravy because I was the only one that wanted it, so I just didn't make it, I know. But this was it. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's What's for Dinner. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one.